Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives. It is Monday, the 19th of April, 2021. Trust everyone had a really good weekend, waking up to a bright Monday morning. The sun came up pretty early this morning, feeling like it's going to be a hot day, and it is advisable that you walk with some protective gear today, i.e. your mask. As part of your accessories by this time, because we should be having some extra ash in the area, as well as, well, those of you protecting from the heat as well. So it's a brand new day, a brand new week, fresh perspectives. We'd like to thank all the broadcast entities who are streaming this production live. We say good morning to those of you viewing on our own Perspectives page, on TNR Communications, Mikey Live, Partygrenada, Sister Island Carriacou, and of course on MTV's Facebook page and on MTV On Air. I am Brenda Baptiste, your moderator, and it is time to introduce our expert talk panel of Senator Christopher Allie and Mr. Byron Campbell. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning to our listeners and viewers across all different media, and it's a pleasure to be here again this week. Of course, this week we continue to be inundated by effects of the volcano.
Yeah.
Continued eruption.
Yeah.
I suppose what is happening there. I thought it was a very interesting thing that happened this week with Prime Minister Harris out of St. Kitts and Nevis and his take on compulsory vaccination versus all Prime Minister's thoughts. So probably we could talk about that a little later, but it has been all about this volcano and what is happening and the issues in St. Vincent and so on. So that continues in my mind to dominate a lot of the conversations throughout and what's happening down the islands as well.
Absolutely.
Morning. Another day in paradise, That's what I say. That's what I say. Chris, I agree that clearly the past week the volcano was dominant in terms of the news. But for me, late last week, the Royal Grenada Police Force was given their first quarter report. And what stood out in that report is the crime report for the first quarter, actually, was the sexual abuse or the increases in child sexual abuse. That was, for me, stood out. And they put forward the numbers, doing a comparable analysis with last year at the same time. And what they showed is that last year you had 33 of these crimes, that's child sexual abuse, compared to 51 this quarter, which shows a 65% increase. But what was also not good at all is the fact that the age is going down for the young girls, particularly being abused as low as 3 years old. This is heartbreaking. I mean, the question for me is, are we doing enough to protect our children? And how are we seeing this? I mean, what's happening in this fair? It raised a lot of concern. And I think this should be more of a conversation for us as a people, and to get behind this and how we can reach our men folks in particular to stop this. Because we have to think not just the crime. The crime is the one thing, but the effect on an individual, a young girl, a young woman, for the rest of her life, So this has to be more of a conversation.
I am a passionate, emotional person on this thing because I always say when you sexually abuse a young child, anywhere between the ages we're talking 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years, I find we should treat it almost as murder. Why? Because you have killed in that young lady or young person certain attributes of her future development as a young woman. It's almost like a debt because that person will never be the same again. Psychologically, physically, emotionally, it's a permanent change. And the level of permanency requires a level of permanency to deal with the crime, the people who commit the crime, and the criminals. So I hear the cry for stiffer penalties and stiffer laws. That is only one side of the equation because there is the other side of the educational aspect, and of course to dig deep and to find out why our men, and in some cases our women,
Yeah.
are allowing this kind of behavior to continue. And we can't blame it on pandemic because it has been around with us for years.
A long time.
And then you have to talk about whether or not our religious community is doing enough to talk to our men about what is happening and our women, and see what really is driving this. Because this is not only here, you know. I was watching some statistics out of Trinidad recently as well, and Trinidad is in a bad place as well, not only with children, but general abuse to women. As a matter of fact, Stag just put out an interesting ad talking about that and to try and fight against the whole issue of abuse to women and girls and young women and so on. And it seems to be a Caribbean thing that we are spiking in that area, in particular in that side of the criminal side of things. And it really requires us to, I mean, I tell my guys who I line with, I have taken a stance. If I know you part of a group of guys that I line with and I am aware that you are an abuser of any form, I don't want to have nothing to do with you.
Correct.
I don't want your drink. I'm not offering you a drink because I have taken a stance that once a man decides to go down that route, I don't think it makes sense.
Your company is no
Yes.
longer
Correct.
Yeah, and then
That's just one, Senator
You know?
Allie, and I applaud you for that. That's just one of the ways to correct behavior. Because for all we say about the state institutions and what they do and what they don't do, and they have done a lot, I must say, in the last 4 or so years to really try to bring a lot of this in a consequential way that the state should do as it relates to penalties. But then we have the whole issue of culture. And I think, you know, culturally, we really encourage and we really sort of you know, make a lot of things blossom into what they shouldn't. For instance, it is quite okay in this culture for a man to be with an underage girl and he's looked at as a big papi. Or for a woman to be with an underage boy and she's looked at, oh, she have a young thing. You see, that's where it starts. Though that is where those things start. And you talk about spiking. No, it's not really spiking. What is spiking is the information we are receiving.
Yeah.
It has always happened.
Yeah.
I mean, from time immemorial, it has happened. We have encouraged it. Neighbors know about it. Families know about it. And we just go on and on and on. When they come to the police station, we might figure we know the gentleman, so we could talk. You cannot talk a sexual predator out of their behavior. It is a sickness. It requires a certain type of intervention. And for all we say about the religious community and all of that, they are just part of it. It's all of us. I mean, we are still finding instances where I am told recently that an underage person shows up pregnant in a certain place. So what do? Well, I don't know. No, you're supposed to report it. We now have laws that teachers, nurses, doctors, all these people, they have to immediately report it. We can't have that. So when we get to the point where we start doing like what you're doing, because you mean you're lineman by a barn, you hear fellas saying after 12 is lunch and all those kind of foolishness, a man laughing and drinking with fellas like that. You know, you don't encourage that, because if they can say it, it means there is something in them that is imbued, that after 12 is lunch, 12 is attractive to them. If they can say things like that and be comfortable with it. So I'm thinking that. Also, someone told me last week, and I found it really interesting, that they said, Brenda, you know, we really, really imbalanced, you know, with the sexual crimes thing. And I'm like, what? And they said, listen, if a man, they hold a man down the road with a little spliff or whatever, he plastered on the internet. He plastered on the newspaper. He plastered on the TV news. He said, that 57-year-old man that interfered with that 3-year-old baby, where he face? And I thought to myself, yeah, that is what needs to happen. And this is just an ordinary person making this observation. And it hit me like, wow. You know, and for all we say about this registry and all that, and where is it now? Because it has gone through so many phases. I was a part of something where is it now? Why is it taking so long? You know, who is saying what? All this human rights about predators. Yeah, but come on, for the greater good of the country, where are we with it?
Yeah,
Eyes get real tight about this, so let me just relax.
There's reason for you to get tight, you know, because this is a crime.
We should get tight.
It's a crime, you know. Against humanity. It's against. I mean, you destroy a person, you know. So we have to be very clear on that and zero tolerance. But I agree with it with what you said, Brenda, in terms of I think why we know the numbers now more is because of the information now age that we're in, and I think the Royal Grenada Police Force is doing an excellent job in terms of documentation.
They have. I mean, they established the Special Victims Unit. They have. Maybe and another thing we need, the agencies need to become one agency. You have the role for the Child Protection Authority, the role for the police, the SVU. It needs to come under, maybe they should come under one roof. So when you enter, you just go until we taking too long. Let's just do it. Let's just do it.
It will be interesting
People's
to understand.
Law number 145. Oh, I miss those days.
It will be interesting to understand what the demographics is when in terms of economic strata. And where the crime rate is at that level, because you will probably think that a lot of it is happening at the lower economic level than the medium to high, or that may not be the case. But that is important to understand, because within the NGO community, if it's at a certain level, then you know how to make special interventions, because then it's economically related to some degree, and people's economic circumstance that is pushing young girls and men to exploit young girls because
it's one
of some
factor, and Grenada is across all strata.
That's why it's good to understand demographically, probably, so that the interventions could be done differently for different levels. And it is. I mean, I just say, you know, when we go to speak publicly, whether we are a priest, whether we are a business leader, whether we are a government person or politician, it must be part of our discourse at all times.
Absolutely.
Because these guys and these women need to be hearing from people that this is not a behavior that we're willing to tolerate at any level.
And just before we move on from this one, another thing is that we so an elder, an adult male rapes an underage girl, and it's a big deal. What about the woman though, whose friend sends the son, her underage son, to her house because she don't have any children? So my son is going to come to your house, go to the shop. And then that woman introduces the young man to. What about him?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
No
and
difference.
we have a lot of there are if you talk to a lot of men in Grenada about their first sexual encounters, you might be surprised. It was just that. And so what we are creating when we do these things to young children, whether they be boys or girls, is that we are creating damaged adults. And for a society like ours, for all we say of resilience and faith and hope and whatever, there are scars that you carry throughout your life. And it impacts no matter how much education you get, how much wealth you acquire. At some point, you draw from that well and it creates issues for others. So we really have to be more, all of us, we just have to be really more keyed into this. And the consequential actions for these things have to be zero tolerance.
Absolutely.
And it cannot be taking long. It can't be taking long. It takes too long. It takes too long. It really takes too long.
I want to switch the conversation, if you don't mind. I mean, because if we go to stay more emotional and that, we may not be able to continue the rest of the program.
We made the point.
I'm just trying to pass.
Vaccinations, I was looking over the weekend at Prime Minister Timothy Harris from St. Kitts and Nevis and his take on mandatory vaccinations. And compared to our Prime Minister's viewpoint on it as well. It was very interesting because Prime Minister Harris was saying that based on how he sees it, for not just for the opening up of the economy, but he was talking about risk and health risk for individuals in business, whether it be hotel or wherever, and the impact, as he said, for his country as a whole in terms of the public health thing. And he in his pronouncement said he is leaving it open. He taking nothing off the table. In other words, he don't see it as being impossible for his government to come to Parliament with some level of legislation mandating vaccination in certain industries as for certain and generally wider, because he believes it's such an important thing for his particular country and safety in general. And it was an interesting viewpoint coming from one of the OECS leaders, because our Prime Minister, of course, is on the other end of the spectrum, saying that he believes that he would not entertain nothing that talks to mandatory vaccination, because it remains a decision of the person and the human rights, and people could challenge it constitutionally and all of that. So he's of the view that persuasion is a better way to go, as much as possible, to encourage people to vaccinate. Interesting viewpoints, because I think both have relevance and critical points, because I am aware that I was in conversation with one of the major contractors recently who indicated that his uptake at his construction at the line level, the carpenters, the masons, and so on, he had a good, I think about 50-60% of them vaccinated. Why? Because he is saying that his clients are saying to him, if you are to come home by me and do any major work for me, I want to make sure your men are vaccinated. So it had put him in a position where he was saying to his guys, listen, I'm happy to employ you guys, but my clients telling me you can't come on a private property unless you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that, in the sense that, guys, you either get vaccinated or else I can't take you on the job?
That's how it works. That's what it is.
And that is interesting, because you can't tell a man with his home or his private place that you within your right as a property owner or whatever, to say you are managing who comes onto my property to increase my risk or to keep my risk at a certain level.
That's where it is. Yeah.
And I see this evolving and growing, where service industry people who are providing services to us in general as a population are going to be the first people to get that kind of request. Listen, you can't come to me and do maintenance on my ACs unless I show you guys vaccinated.
And Senator Allie, that is exactly what it is. All the human rights talk, valid. All the policy makers, like the prime ministers of the various islands, having to say, listen, I not telling nobody that it's mandatory or whatever. They may find they don't even have to. Yeah. As a matter of fact, they can leave the conversation, because sometimes when political heads get involved in certain conversations, it creates other things. Because that is exactly what's going to happen. What you say, the service industry, the hotel, the home owner, the business owner have the right to say, if you are not vaccinated, you cannot, I really don't want you in my space, whether you are an employer, an employee, or whether you're coming to provide service or receive service. Doctors are finding that they have to be vaccinated because it's becoming part of their ethics. That people, herbalists, a lot of these people, herbalists are anti-vaxxers. They are now finding that to operate in the United States, if their license ought to be valid, they have to be vaccinated. So that is how it's going to be coming. Nobody have to to this big talk about making it mandatory. Forget that conversation. As we continue to go, we are going to find, what? I ain't vaccinated. They say I can't go in there. What you gonna do? Mash down the place? You just can't go. Yeah. So that is what is going to be happening. And as much as you have your rights and it's your personal choice, the business place, the homeowner, the bank, the hotel, they too have their rights.
Yeah, it's going to
my take on it is look, already the cruise ships industry has certainly, that's the direction they're going, both in terms of workers and passengers. Yeah. And SGU certainly has laid that down as a policy. So it appears that particularly sectors are likely, and they are, implementing such a policy. But there's another dimension of the whole vaccine issue that I'd like to raise, having to do with hesitancy, of course, and the state of play in some countries like India. Yes. India for certain parts of Europe also. Brazil is still in a crisis.
And Trinidad.
And Trinidad. Recently. But if we take India, which we know,
infection rates have spiked.
Yeah. If we take India, where we know that traditionally India would be producing 60% of all vaccine produced in the world, and on the COVAX they were a major player in COVAX because of their production capacity, had agreed to, I think in the first instance, 30 million and they are way below this in terms of contribution. And now they in 1 week they've had over 1 million cases. So there's a crisis there. Their vaccine centers are closing. They don't have the supply. So they see us, some countries see us as a luxury, meaning that we have vaccines and people are reluctant to take it. And in these countries, there are huge demand and they simply don't have the supply. So the crisis as far as a pandemic is major in significant parts of the world.
It's far from being over.
That's the point.
Yes,
That's the point.
it
And
is.
our closest neighbor, Trinidad, in that sense, is a good reminder of what is happening. Prime Minister Rowley had to shut the country down again to some degree and to a large degree. And, you know, the effect on the average person, psychologically and otherwise, is becoming severe. In other words, people are... I have colleagues in Trinidad saying to me, listen, Chris, you guys are so fortunate in Grenada. We can't leave home. We still in a cocoon. We can't go anywhere. And if you're going anywhere, it's so much restrictions and so on and so forth. And we take those things for granted because we believe that, and I'm talking about Grenada here now, that we slow to vaccinate because we think, well, we good and we have nothing and so on, but other countries having serious issues. But as Brenda was saying, as that environment changes and people now get to realize that the pandemic is far from over, now we start insisting that for you to come and provide services or receive services, you have to be of a particular
and that is the right
way.
And
vaccination is going to be one of the way. It's going to force people into a different kind of thinking. Because then your livelihood is now linked to being that. So I'm a mason, I want to come on my project, I ain't vaccinated, but I can't get work. What am I going to do? And at least in Grenada, vaccination is still free. You could walk in and get vaccinated without any cost.
And you could even go to a place like Sam's, like Dr. Amici, you know, and get vaccinated for free. And you don't even have to make an appointment. And the vaccination thing, it is, yes, there's hesitancies, but there's some other words we can use. There's ignorance and there's sheer defiance. I mean, because we are getting a little stupid with it.
Look,
some of us,
in my village,
the conversations we are having, and everything just redound to party political things, and we're going on and on, and nobody's forcing anybody to get any vaccine. And if you feel forced, well, okay. So if somebody says you can't come to their property, you can't. The person have their rights. That's just how it works. That is just how it works. So take your time, mull over what you need to mull over. At the same time, those who are having an issue with those they are saying are trying to force and whatever, why are you persuading people not to get vaccinated? Do you know why?
Well,
do you know why?
I always say, Brenda, when you look at the negative news in vaccination, yes, there have been some deaths. Yes, there have been some reactions, medically negative reactions with blood clots and so on. But compare that. First of all, there is no perfect vaccine that you can ever generate. But when you know you have vaccinated probably hundreds of millions already, and you look at the few people who have had issues, it is absolutely nothing compared to the overall gain that we will get from this. And as I say, at the end of the day, all of us have peculiar medical issues and peculiar things with us that will not react to the general thing. So that is, and when we talk negatively and we talk about these things, we don't ever talk about the positive side, which says, I have vaccinated millions of people and there's no issues with these millions of people.
Look, and Chris, I think really it's important for everyone to, because I showed up to get vaccinated and I did not consult my doctor. But when I got to the vaccination site, I did not have my ID. So I had to leave. And that was, to me, that was just like divine intervention. Because I subsequently saw the doctor and, you know, we had the conversation of why I should probably wait a little, right? So that I would advise people to do that as well. But, you know, to have conversations with their doctor. But don't be out there spewing things, especially those of us who, we're really not trained in the science. We're not reading because on the internet, you could get anything to suit your narrative, Yeah, because when you're logged in and you see something that go with what you believe, whether it's true.
You consulted your doctor before you did that?
Whether it's true or false.
No. Let me tell you, in my village, in Mangmores, there are loudspeakers going around. They're telling you where to be at a certain time.
Yes.
Transport are going to pick you up.
Wonderful.
Yeah, wow.
You know, in other words, we're going to pick you up, the government, and deliver you at the clinic.
Lovely.
We're going to take you back home.
Lovely.
You know, so look, it's an opportunity. I'm encouraging all and sundry to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
It is true that there is uncertainty about the final outcome of this pandemic, where it's going to go, how long the vaccine is going to last. But the fact is, it's working, it's preventing people from getting sick and dying. I mean, that's the reality.
You know, when you watch the
fact.
Brazil statistics, in Brazil, the young side of the population of Brazil is the one that's dying off at an alarming rate.
Everywhere.
You know, but no, Brazil in particular, because Brazil, the 20 to 30 age group, has been significantly impacted.
Because I saw Dr. Fauci on this week. He was talking
causing some concern.
He was talking to Congress, and one of the congressmen was trying to behave as, you know, political, and like he knew more science, and Fauci was just killing him with the science. And it was such a thrill to watch. And he said this fourth wave is targeted at the young. He don't know if COVID has eyes, but it's moving in for the younger
the impact of our
person.
societies,
and the younger meaning 50 and under.
The impact for our societies. Remember, these are the young people that is expected to come and take over from us going into retirement. Productivity in your country will fall. Your social security schemes will be in jeopardy when these young people get wiped out. So it is, and then of course, you may get it and recover, and then you have a long haulers disease that may stay with you for the rest of your life.
That's what they're saying.
So the medical bills for your country is going to explode.
But finding that there are those impacts.
Really, there is. You really need to take it and try your best not to wear your mask and so on to not get infected, you know. So
right.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we have a guest from the Grenada Co-Operative Bank this morning. We're talking Pump It Up, and we're also talking about really, you know, challenges during this banking period. Some good advice will be coming from the bank as to what we should be doing and how things have gone for them thus far. So we're going to be, but before we go though, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, there's still some efforts on to send things over. So I know lots of people have responded to that. Like to applaud us for that. We're very, very good with that. As the best of us. And also there are opportunities emanating in terms of agriculture for us here in Grenada as the sector has been decimated somewhat. So I trust that we are paying attention. Those of us, we were talking about coconuts earlier, and the fact that the coconuts basically gone. So even those of us here in Grenada, those of you who are into manufacturing and you use coconut as your base product in whatever you do, try your best and get it together. And you can plant some acres of coconut.
Although it will take a while, but there are coconuts that grow at pretty fast. Pretty fast these days.
And we see that places like Marketing Board is starting to export again. So things are on the uptake. SGU has announced that they're coming back for the summer, the August period. That is fantastic news.
Hopefully by January next year they'll be almost fully up.
That is going to be great. So lots of things to be very, very hopeful about on this on the horizon here in Grenada. We take a break. We'll be right back with Grenada Co-Operative Bank.
Get vax. It's your best shot. Hello.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Hey, are you gonna wear your mask today? You see everywhere you go. There are rules you got to follow, so don't you say COVID-19 will delay. Take the opportunity to save your community. Don't be that guy, put a mask on your face if you're heading outside. It's your life, my life, more lives will be taken if we don't try. If you feel any symptoms, call the hotline. Stay inside until you feel fine. 6 feet away every day. Keep COVID-19 far from away. Keep Grenada safe. Be COVID-19 smart.
Hello Grenada, this is Jerry Alexis, Technical Director at the Grenada Football Association. I have been vaccinated. As we are the association about to roll football out again on the field, I encourage every player to get vaccinated so that we can quickly, speedily get back on the field doing what we love.
Dreaming of taking a break and escaping to an idyllic, happy place? Well, finding it does not require you to go too far. You already live in paradise. All it takes is for you to go out and discover it. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are blessed with a wide variety of accommodation that satisfy any taste and budget. Find the one that suits you and your family and treat yourself while having peace of mind that your health and safety is a priority. Knowing that we have gorgeous waterfalls, stunning beaches, and flavorful cuisine, let's be tourists in our own islands and enjoy paradise at home.
Welcome back to Perspectives. If you're just joining us this Monday morning, we say a hearty good morning to you. And again, thank you to all the broadcast entities who's carrying this production this morning. So we are going to be getting into a discussion this morning. Pump It Up, one of the greatest things that ever happened to activities, community service, and all of that corporate social responsibility in Grenada was the establishment of this activity by the Grenada Co-Operative Bank Limited, the Pump It Up Walk. Pump It Up turns 12. Yes, Pump It Up getting to be a big girl or boy. I have to be careful. And I say girl, these two does have a problem. Yeah. So we call it the Pump It Up twins. Because Pump It Up is turning 12, and of course we're doing Pump It Up in a pandemic. And the folks at Grenada Co-Operative Bank, they are so innovative, creative, and all of that. And so there's a great new thrust to this activity this year. And this morning we have the very vivacious Carla Wilson from the Grenada Co-Operative Bank to tell us all about this year's activity. Good morning, Carla.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank
Morning.
you for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Pump It Up turns 12. How does that feel?
It's great. It feels great. It started like, to me, it was just the other day. I can't believe it's 12. You're saying it and I'm shocked myself.
Yes, Pump It Up growing. Pump It Up is just on the verge of being a teenager.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you know when you're on the verge of being a teenager, there are lots of changes in your life, you know?
Yes,
so it
course.
seems like the same thing is happening to
The
Pump
same
It
thing
Up.
has happened with Pump It Up.
So talk us through that.
Bigger and greater things.
So talk us through some of those changes, because it is a different year this time.
Yes, unfortunately last year, Brenda, due to the onset of the pandemic, we were not able to host a fun walk. And persons have been asking for it and crying out for it, and unfortunately again this year, the same situation exists. So we have decided, in an effort to keep Pump It Up pumping in the minds of Grenadians, and of course, given the backdrop behind the Pump It Up initiative, which is to help to promote a healthier lifestyle for our nation, we decided to kind of let it slip away from us again this year. So what we are doing a series of virtual activities. So again, as in the past, we have our t-shirts on sale. We have, this is the beautiful t-shirt that we have for this year, right?
Yes.
See the back of it with all the benefactors and Pump It Up, yes, and stuff like that. And we are saying that to get this beautiful t-shirt and this pedometer, which I'm wearing, which is a watch, it traps your step counts, and it also tells you how many calories that you burn along the way.
Interesting.
So in order to get this beautiful package, it only costs $15. These packages are available at all our retail banking units. So we have it at Church Street in St. George's, Spiceland Mall, Carriacou, Grenville, and Sates. We also have the option this year, because we're going virtual, that you can visit our Grenada Co-Operative Bank Pump It Up Fun Walk page, where it takes you directly to our website. There's a link that takes you to the website where you can actually register online. And the beautiful thing about it is that you can register. If you're in Carriacou, you can say, I'm coming down and I would like to collect mine in Church Street, Surtees, Grenville, wherever. You have that option to say which retail banking unit you'd like to collect the package from. And we'd actually prepare them and call you when the packages are ready. So we don't want you to have to come and waiting around and wondering. We've taken it one step further. Register online, we'll call you and say, Brenda, your package is ready, you can collect at Spice and Mall as you had indicated.
Okay, wonderful.
So lots of wonderful stuff happening. However, for persons who may not be so inclined to go online, we're saying we still want to welcome you. Come in to the retail banking units, any one of your choice. All of the COVID-19 protocols will be in full effect and will accommodate you there.
What's the address online again?
Yeah.
Grenada Co-Operative Bank Pump It Up Fun Walk. We have an official Pump It Up Fun Walk page.
Yes, Grenada Co-Operative Bank
Pump It Up Fun Walk. So when you go there, you get all the details.
Yeah, and registration.
And everything.
Right.
There are also some flyers posted there telling you about the various activities, because what we have done, we have launched a 4-part video series.
Okay.
Right. Some of the episodes have already started airing. They're on our Facebook page. The first one is a recovery story, where Mr. Derek Laborde tells us of his journey and his success.
I saw that.
Yes, his recovery story with alcohol.
It's very powerful.
Yes, and how the Carlton Home, which is the initiative that we are putting these funds towards for the past 5 years, he's telling us how the Carlton Home helped him in his success.
Excellent.
So we have a very powerful and beautiful recovery story there. The second part, which was put out last week, is on physical wellness, because of course, Pump It Up, physical health, wellness, all of that encompassing. The third one, which will be put out this Friday, will be on mental and emotional wellness, because we're saying it's not just the physical, but the mental well-being, the whole self, right? Especially during these COVID times, as we call it. A lot of persons have been so stressed out and frustrated with what's happening, and your mental health, so in some cases, have been severely affected. So we want to look at the whole self.
Talking about the whole self, I must say congratulations to your team member, Patty, who hosted the fitness. She did such a great job.
Yes, she did.
Such a great job.
Yes,
so
yes,
thank you. Because it would have a bit of everything.
Yes, thank you. I will be sure to convey those congratulations when I get to the office.
Right.
Yes.
In terms of the for the just before the panelists I just want to know your figure for where you're at now in terms of the monies collected for the reestablishment of the Carlton Home.
Yes.
What's your figure?
Yes. So at this point, we're approximately at $325,000. When we started, we said for 5 years, we want to accomplish a total of $500,000. Unfortunately, we missed last year. So maybe we might stretch it to another year. That's still something to be decided upon. But right now, we're at approximately $325,000. So we're very happy about that.
Yes.
Having missed the year.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And let me just mention the final part of the 4-part video series, which will be on healthy food choices, because we want to encourage the nation to eat healthy, eat local, simple things that you have in your backyard. Some persons think that eating healthy can be so expensive because you have to go to the supermarket and buy all this expensive, but the callaloo, the okra, the little things that you have in your garden can provide you with that healthier choice that you need. So there is also an episode on that, which will be coming out on Friday, April 30th, which is a culmination of the Pump It Up activities.
My comment here is to recognize the cooperative bank for this important initiative. Here is this initiative that is multifaceted. On one hand, you're addressing substance abuse and care. In other words, the care or the rehabilitation, but bringing attention to the issue through a healthy lifestyle initiative where you're getting a significant part of the nation involved in physical activities, health-related issue. And of course, now with the virtual effect, you're bringing a multifaceted of different health issues, again, to the wider public. And directly and indirectly, you're bringing attention to your institution in terms of public relations and as an indigenous bank. And I think all I want to say is a compliment you for a recognition for the bank for this initiative. Very important. And being able to attract other business sector, that kind of collaboration. And this is huge. This is really important. But the question is, I do have one. The Carlton home, is it going to the same location? What's the new dimension of it? What's in this design? What's in this? What's happening there?
Yeah, well, actually, on a program on Beyond the Headlines on Thursday night, we had a special edition, and the Minister for Health was on, and he was able to give some further details on that. And the site that has been chosen for the new Carlton home is actually up at the Maribor.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the minister did give some further details on that, and they'll be doing some further work on that upcoming soon.
Right.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great. I mean, I join in well as complimenting our bank for the initiative. I mean, when you think about our country and our issues that we have with, the NCDs, the non-communicable disease, the hypertension, the diabetes, and so on, it is very important for us to promote and constantly keep in the minds of people healthy lifestyle, exercise, eat properly, and all of that. And of course, stress management as well. You spoke about the mental health aspect and that series, which I think is so important because the new thing now in life is balance. And your efficiency and productivity as a businessman or businesswoman is intrinsically linked to the other side of your life where you must get balance, whether it's through your family, through exercise, or whatever. So the balance part is a critical thing. And I'm sad that we're going to be missing the actual walk this year, because that doesn't only a walk, it was also a time to meet friends and chat and laugh and give us pecan about this and that, and you can't go up the lane, and it was a good thing from that sense. But are you thinking about doing anything virtually in terms of the exercise? Like say on one of the day, have one of the exercise people come and who could tune in, and you pump up, and even though it's home, now you have to jump up and walk.
Yes, well, actually, we do have that, because what we have, and we have actually already posted some of the videos on the Pump Up Facebook page, we have a series of 8 different exercise challenges. Yes. So we've been posting 2 per week, and we're encouraging persons to go there, purchase your package, wear your t-shirt, videotape yourself or your group or your community group, your church group, your school, your workplace, whatever it is. Videotape yourself doing these different exercise challenges, because at Pumped Up we always have prizes to be won, right? So we still have prizes, because as you say,
so that's how you're linking the public participation.
The public participation with the 8 different exercise challenges. And what we're saying is that the first 2 groups, the first 2 individuals, to upload their videos with all 8 exercise challenges wearing the Pump It Up t-shirt can win a prize. And you have between now and we started since March 15th, and you have up to April 23rd, which is this Friday, to do that and submit the video. So this is where the public comes in with the exercise.
So old people like me and Byron, I hope you have a prize for us.
Exactly.
So
you have categories, I hope.
It seems as though you want to be in the Mosida register.
I think so. I mean.
Listen, on the phones, you have lots of video tricks there. So people will send anything showing they're jumping high. But they're really jumping anyway, but that's a fun way to participate.
Yes, it is indeed. And also we have another exciting one as well with a healthy meal preparation. On the Facebook page as well, we have one of the flyers which gives you a list of about 11 local ingredients. And we're encouraging you to use as many of them. You don't have to use all, but use as many of them as possible. Wearing the t-shirt again, videotape yourself preparing a healthy meal, a smoothie, a drink, a dessert, whatever it is, using some of these ingredients. If you want to actually show yourself going in the drain and cut the callaloo or going and pick the okra or whatever it is, you can do that as well and upload the videos. For the persons in the diaspora who would want to get involved in the initiative, we're saying yes, you can get involved in the initiative as well. We appreciate the fact that you might not have time to get a t-shirt. However, once you can confirm your registration, you can also participate. So you can have someone go online, fill up the form, and have someone come and pay and collect your package. Once we can confirm that you're registered, you can also participate. So we don't want to leave out anyone.
Right. What is the largest participation in terms of numbers you've ever had for Pump It Up?
Well, we've always been sold out with our 5,000 packages. Now, not everyone would walk because, of course, personal challenges just want to be a part of the initiative. But every year, all of the 5,000 packages have been sold out.
Wonderful. It's oversubscribed.
Pump
it up big time.
Pump it up big time.
Good.
Let me just, as Mr. Allie spoke about the different categories and so on, let me just let persons know the different categories that we have. So you can get involved, you can win a prize. We have the largest registered community group, largest registered family, largest registered church group, largest registered school group, largest registered workplace, and we further subdivided it into micro, small, medium, and large.
Okay.
Most senior registered person, most senior registered person with the
qualified,
highest step count. So that's why you need to wear your pedometer to track your step count. So at the end of the challenge, you can submit a picture of your pedometer.
What's your count on your pedometer?
Brenda, my own got to 100,000 already and reset it. So now I'm at over 4,000. So it's 104,000 and counting.
Sure. But great. Well done.
Thanks. Yes. I'm taking it seriously, Brenda.
Good. Good.
Yes. We also have the youngest register because we do not want to leave out anyone. From the time Pump It Up initiative started, we've always promoted it as a family affair. So we have the youngest registered person with the highest step count as well. And then for the exercise challenges, we have the first 2 individuals and the first 2 groups completing all 8 challenges. And then for the healthy meal preparation, we have the individual with the most likes, shares, or votes. So for that one, it is the public that's actually judging that one. We're going to stay away from that one. So we're going to involve the public in every way that we can. So the public actually has the opportunity to vote on that one.
I like the fact that even that you can, and that's just great innovation. Even if we cannot hit the road physically and be together, but just how you've made it interactive in the virtual space and still get the maximum effect and the result that you're looking for. So kudos on that. Very well done to your team.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And we must congratulate the benefactors as well who are on board with you.
Of course, yes. Let me just mention we have Flo, Antillian Group, Jonas Brown and Hubbard's. We have Waggy Tea Rental and Song Company, Koyaba, Body Image Health Club, Guardian Group. We have to say thank you so much to these benefactors who have come on board with us for this initiative. We also have some other alliance partners as well. So we just want to thank them. And of course, the general public, who has been making it a success from year to year.
It's good to hear insurance companies are there because they need to protect us in terms of, the better we get healthy is less stress for them in terms of health insurance.
The insurance companies, I believe, were some of the earliest partners.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Yes, Flo, Guardian General, Hubbard's, Antillian, yes, they were.
What are some of the 8 challenge exercises that we have to get done? What type of exercise? Push up, sit up?
Why do you want to know?
It's a wide range. As I said, it's 8 and it's a wide range. So I would encourage you to visit the Pump It Up page. It's all different exercises because we know everybody is not at the same level of fitness.
8 of any of the set that is there.
8, but in order to win the prize, you must complete all 8. However, if you're not able to, it's just to get you pumped up. Just to keep exercising in mind. And even after the challenge is done, there's no harm in going back and doing the exercise again because it's just for your own benefit. Like we see persons on the road from year to year with so many different pumped up t-shirts. Sometimes I forget that we had that color that year. But you see them in the gyms, you see them on the road, and especially during these past times, a lot more persons have been walking as a form of exercise. So it's a huge.
I started train and get ready and see what exercise I can do.
Excellent initiative.
So just visit the Pump It Up page and go on and do what you can do.
Do your thing, Senator Allie.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Getting ready.
So, Carla, before we let you leave and make way for your illustrious managing director, anything you want to leave with us, just to remind folks of their registration, how they can register, and what they can do as we pump it up 2021.
Yes. So again, the packages are only $15. And we just want persons to be reminded, persons who say, well, why do I have to pay $15 and we're not having a physical walk? The proceeds of every $15 package purchase goes directly into the Carlton Home Fund, which is the initiative that we are using this for. So we just want to encourage persons to get out there, visit any of our 5 retail banking units, Church Street, Caracou, Spiceland Mall, Grenville, Sauters, purchase your package, get this lovely pedometer, which is a watch as well. And just get involved in the process. Visit the Grenada Co-Operative Bank Pump It Up Fun Walk page to register online as well and come and collect your package. Look out for the exercise challenges. Follow the video series, very important stuff. Get your groups together, participate. You can win a prize. So even if we're not having a physical walk this year, there are still many opportunities. As a matter of fact, we've added some other categories for prizes this year as well. Right? So just get in there, get involved in the process. All the information is there. Get pumped up from home, from your yard space, from your veranda, whatever the case may be. Get into your groups, your school, wear the t-shirts. register, come on out and win a prize.
Byron at 12 because.
Yes, so what? Well, it seems I don't hold a core bank and come and
Yeah, that's a safe, clean, healthy space. A lot of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. That's my kind of thing. Thanks for that. I might have organized a group and come up there.
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Again,
Thank you.
Commendations to Grenada Co-Operative Bank Limited, all the benefactors who are on board with you, continuing this initiative, especially the fact that the funds are going to the re-establishment of the Carlton Home, which is so badly needed.
Yes.
And I'm happy that in the short space, well, it's from 5 years ago that you started
this initiative,
that you're well on your way to getting to that goal. And I'm sure we would have another conversation where we'll talk about the modalities of the agreement of the funding with the government and what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and so on, as people would want to know where all the $15 going and how it's working, right?
Of course.
So again, best wishes.
Thank you very much.
Please extend our commendations to the rest of your team.
And
thank you so very much for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me.
So it is Pump It Up, Grenada Co-Operative Bank Pump It Up, the 2021 edition. And you hear the excitement of it. So go now to the Grenada Co-Operative Bank Pump It Up page, register, and get involved. When we come back, we are speaking with the Managing Director of the Grenada Co-Operative Bank. No, we're not pumping it up with him this morning. He is going to be responding to customers' financial challenges in this pandemic. Mr. Richard W. Duncan is here with us. We'll be right back.
Should you wear a mask outdoors? Hey, I'm just masking for a friend. Besides, it's the law. A message from the Ministry of Health. Be COVID-19 smart. Wear your mask.
Get vax. It's your best shot. Hello.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Hey, are you gonna wear your mask today? You see everywhere you go. There are rules you got to follow, so don't you say COVID-19 will delay. Take the opportunity to save your community. Don't be that guy, put a mask on your face if you're heading outside. It's your life, my life, more lives we'll be taken if we don't try. If you feel any symptoms, call the hotline. Stay inside until you feel fine. 6 feet away every day. Keep COVID-19 far from away. Keep Grenada safe. Be COVID-19 smart.
Hello Grenada, this is Jerry Alexis, Technical Director at the Grenada Football Association. I have been vaccinated. As we are the association about to roll football out again on the field, I encourage every player to get vaccinated so that we can quickly, speedily get back on the field doing what we love.
Dreaming of taking a break and escaping to an idyllic, happy place? Well, finding it does not require you to go too far. You already live in paradise. All it takes is for you to go out and discover it. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are blessed with a wide variety of accommodation that satisfy any taste and budget. Find the one that suits you and your family and treat yourself while having peace of mind that your health and safety is a priority. Knowing that we have gorgeous waterfalls, stunning beaches, and flavorful cuisine, let's be tourists in our own islands and enjoy paradise at home.
Welcome back to Perspectives. If you're leaving us, please, you can roam with us in the palm of your hand. Just log in on our Perspectives Facebook page on Partygrenada, MTV's Facebook page, and of course, MTV is on air, as well as Mikey Live and Sister Isle in Carriacou. So we have some great products here from the GCNA. And, we like to season our meats, right? We don't just marinate or just grab it from the fridge and throw it in. We like to season our meat. So, Senator Allie, I have a real good one here for your boy from the Nutmeg. Try Meat Rub. You like the song of that? Yeah. Try, Try. You know about that already? And dry meat rub. And then we have the ground nutmeg. And we also have the nutmegs and a little grater inside too, And all of this can be found at All Things Nutmeg on the GCNA. You can find them in your supermarkets as well. And guys, they leave Grenada in droves, huh? And they're on other shelves around the world. But I'm so impressed by their packaging and all of this nutmeg powder here. This is really top class stuff. Really, really impressed by it. Yeah.
Can't over stress the need for value add, especially for that industry. I can't over stress it, and we have to support it as much as possible.
Chris will be talking to you about a partnership, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to. I did say to the managing director, the GM down there, that we had to have a conversation to see if we can get some more private sector companies interested.
Absolutely, this is exciting, and kudos to all those who has pivoted, because we just keep. In 2021, we really have to move beyond the step of just putting nutmeg in bags and taking them down to the port and shipping them off. So when I see things like this, it gets me really excited. So congratulations, GCNA. All Things Nutmeg, Grenada, the Nutmeg Paradise. So this morning, it is an absolute pleasure to introduce a great Grenadian son. He is the Managing Director of the Grenada Co-Operative Bank Limited, Richard W. Duncan. He's also the President of the Bankers Association. This morning we're going to talk to him about responding to challenges, customers' challenges, that is, with, of course, their relationship with the bank during this pandemic. And we say hearty welcome to Mr. Richard Duncan.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning to the listening and viewing public, and thank you for having us.
You are most welcome. I think you're our second guest to come back twice, so you do something good.
Yes, indeed. You were here late last year.
Late last year.
That was a nice program too.
Thank you very, very much. People gleaned a lot from it, so thank you so very much. So immediately following COVID, you announced, you responded by offering customers loan payment deferrals and all of this. So a year later, where are we with this? How is the bank continuing to assist its customers? And what is still financially difficult now?
Yes. Okay, so that is correct. 1 year on, you still have some people that are under the deferral program. However, quite a few have come off it, not just in our bank or just in banks in Grenada, but throughout the ECCU. In the sense that some people came on what you might say in a preemptive way because of the uncertainty as to the gravity and extent. And then they realized that no, I could cope, I could manage, right? Some people have changed jobs. For example, in Grenada, if the construction sector is in fact gearing up. So people who are in the hospitality industry, for example, and switch were able to continue to service their debt. So they have been restructured. Some businesses also are, fledging along and are able to service their debt. I think the main challenges remain obviously in the SGU, student accommodation sector, hotels, restaurants, entertainment. Those are the sectors that continue to experience difficulties.
Right.
So we continue to extend, those moratoria. Sometimes when someone comes and they say they want it for 3 months, we would suggest 6. If things turn out better in month 2 or in month 4, we rearrange, your affairs, because we like to emphasize that a moratorium, once you determine it is right for you, should not be taken for granted or should not be enjoyed for an unnecessarily lengthy period of time. Because at the end of the day, the interest that accumulates, for example, if you say no interest for 6 months, at the end of 6 months, that interest has to be repaid, one or next. Having said that, I think all banks have to ask the question, for example, if I allow a single parent mom a 6-month moratorium, and at the end of it, when she gets a job, I add on that interest to the loan, have I really helped her?
Right.
I think that's a question, and there are certain, so there's the economics and financial side of it, as well as there's the, what am I saying, sociology side.
Yes.
Are commercial banks playing the kind of role they should be playing in the pandemic? Right. I mean, it's a complex question, don't get me wrong, but one that still needs to be asked is, are there other ways that banks, financial institutions as a whole, can help certain segments of the community to survive?
Yeah, and the question is so relevant, especially with what's happening now in terms of the human, because the story of the pandemic is a human one.
Yes.
So naturally that is questioned. So with that said, what sort of additional support, is the bank prepared to offer to customers?
But I think the support will come at the end of the moratorium, or the extent to which banks and our bank is able to help will be shown in the end, because once you come off of the moratorium, the question is, do I add this interest onto the loan and still charge you at the same, 4, 5, or 6%? Do I forgive you the interest? Do I give you as a separate no interest loan? So there are different modalities. I think that's the real test as to how banks will help people through this, because as I say, the moratorium deferral is one way to help in giving people one less thing to worry about. I don't have to worry about that now, but you do have to confront it at the end. So we like to tell people, think about it carefully, agree which option is best for you, and once your circumstances change, let your banker know so you can, rearrange your loan and continue to function. There's an aspect that, is important in helping people on the service side that I want to emphasize, Brenda. And that is the use of alternative channels. So COVID has its financial side, it has its personal contact and health side. So we have been encouraging all banks, customers to try and use these alternative channels to do the banking as well as the other business. So for example, if you have online banking available in all the banks in Grenada, and in our own case, what we call e-banking, you can pay your utility bills without having to leave your home and expose yourself in a long line in Grenada or Flo, or coming to the bank to get the money to go and pay. So we want to encourage people to do that. The use of the international debit cards, again, available. There's a wide network of ATMs available to people. Most businesses now have a point-of-sale machine, so you could use your card at those locations and not expose yourself unnecessarily by coming into the banking halls. And of course, for the businesses, things like wire transfers and so forth, you can send in an email, you can send a secure message with the instructions, it gets done online by the bank, electronic funds transfer. So all these things are there as means to assist people to reduce risk of COVID exposure, obviously, bill efficiency, and reduce costs in running their businesses and their affairs during these times.
Senator Allie?
Yeah, I wanted to take up Mr. Duncan and the issue of Richard on the issue of the moratoriums and the fact that interest, and just add to this and get your take on it. I know ECCB had indicated that end of September is the last and the ultimate end that banks would be allowed to extend favorable cash flow situations, if you want to put it that way, for people who have loans at the various institutions. I asked that in the view of the sectors you identified, tourism, service, education services, SGU, entertainment, and so on, where employment in those sectors will be a little protracted beyond September. And what will be the financial institutions' response? Because some people in those sectors will be people who are certainly have significant loans and so on. How are you guys planning to treat with that? Is there going to be some exception being asked in that case after you analyze your portfolio and so on?
Right. So the central bank has, made their position very clear, I think, since last year or earlier this year. And that does not prevent financial institutions on their own in extending the moratorium for people. Okay. Right? I'd say to people, even before COVID, banks have been granting moratorium to people in times of difficulty for individual business. So come September, if you have a business that is still struggling, you can, and in our case, we are prepared to grant an extension. What that does, based on the central bank rules, there are things that will happen to the bank's income statement and balance sheet once you do that. They would require you to downgrade the credit, and as a consequence, you have to make provision for loan losses. Exactly. And that's what central bank decision was about, to avoid a wave of delinquency and non-performing loans during the COVID period. Now, when the moratorium was granted to an individual business, it might have been for a year and a half, beyond September. So there are some people, for example, who would still be on the moratorium. All central bank is saying, if you grant it after September 30th, right, no matter for how long, you have to downgrade and do these things. Yeah. So it's not that come September 30th, if you had a moratorium before, that would be running into January, February next year, that expires. It doesn't. It continues. It's just that banks are not allowed after September to grant these moratorium and avoid having the downgrade and that kind of stuff.
I see. Okay. How will that impact the customer, though?
Well, because they have to downgrade and provide, banks would be hesitant and reluctant and try to squeeze as much as possible out of the customer to avoid that situation. But sometimes, and that's the point, if we are to win, we have to win together. Banks cannot do well if the customers are not doing well. Yeah. And when your customer is in difficulty, you have to work collaboratively to get past that period. And therefore, there are a number of strategies that we are contemplating. I'm sure other banks are as well. How do you work with your customers while the economy slowly and painfully begin to recover? That's the whole thing, right? So when it was great, everything was nice and hunky-dory, that's fine. There was a hiatus with the moratorium. Now we're starting to come out of it. Let us work together to ensure that we treat our customers well.
Go ahead.
Agriculture thing. I wanted to take Richard. I saw an article that you wrote, Richard, recently, which spoke to what happens as we come out of the thing. And one of the things that you highlighted was a need for customers, whether you're a business, whether you're individual customers, to make a link, communicate to the bank, come and start to chat with your bankers on your situation, how it's evolving, how it's not. There is a need for more communication and more discussion to happen now with people who have had issues. And, I always say that you have to be fair to the banks as well. The banks are here to try and help, but if you as a young business person are going to have protracted problems, you need to come with a plan with the bank and not just come to say to the bank, I need more help. Yeah. You have to say how you're helping the bank too. Yeah. I mean, how is your bank going to be approaching that? It's going to put a lot more emphasis or a lot more work on your side for you to have people come in and not just come in, but come in with some sort of plan in their mind as to how they can alleviate some issues.
Yeah. Because that's an extremely important point that we have emphasized from day one, and the article I referred to is available to the general public. So yes, getting in touch and keeping in touch with your banker is vital. We always make the point that you, as the business owner, you know the affairs of your business better than the banker, trust me. At least you ought to.
Yeah.
And probably you do. What you do not do is to share with the banker truthfully all facets and dimensions of the business, and it is not good. Do not go to the doctor and hide information if you're unwell. So likewise, if your business is struggling, don't come to the banker and hide information. Bring all the information on the table. Let us discuss so we can assist you in strategizing and so forth. And again, I make the point. Banks do not want to see the customers fail. It is illogical. You want to see your customers succeed. Precisely.
Transparency.
So, exactly. So sometimes when we emphasize, as banks, we need financial information, we need audit financial statement and stuff like that, is for us to understand the business and to help you make that business perform even better. So having your information available, getting help from others to maybe put it together so you can paint a picture to discuss with the banker. Even though the information is in a raw state, the bank will help you to put it together and to decipher and to assist so that you can plot the course properly for that business. So we just want to emphasize that, and thanks for raising it, very, very important.
There's no, Richard, clearly the financial institutions and corporate bank responded in a very positive way at the pandemic, and it gave a lot of confidence to people that it's not the end of the world. I have an opportunity, so that's important. But one sector, and Chris rightly mentioned that the agricultural sector. I know we've talked about the tourism sector and construction and so forth, but this is a sector that that came to the fore, particularly from the 9/11, but more so with the pandemic, that exposed it a bit in terms of saying that all is not well there. We should have been doing better, particularly from a food security point of view. Of course, it's a sector that's always, since the collapse of the nutmeg industry with Ivan, that the financial sector looked at it a bit differently. In other words, the guarantees and the risk was greater. And in banking, this is always the balance, a risk. And we know this. But it is we know that the past level of lending, when you look at all the money on all the on lending in Grenada, has been very low for the sector, agricultural sector, under 5% certainly overall. But in view of the pandemic and what we know now, the importance of the sector, is the bank rethinking. And also the other point, I think that from observation, that we think that farmers and especially more young persons getting into the sector are taking a more business approach to the sector in terms of profitability, management overall, documentation, etc. But as a bank, do you sense from your institution that you're revising your approach to this sector? Where's the confidence level? Can you comment on this?
So the answer is yes. And I would add to that, there is a program. But let me just backtrack a bit. Agriculture is high-risk business. Rainfall is not right. Too much, too little at the wrong time. One pest, one disease. I have a little plot in the back of my house, and tomatoes looking nice today, and in 2-3 days a black spot. Imagine if I had a field and depend on that. So it is high risk, and the insurance mechanism are not quite in place, are not quite working. So there are things that other players have to do in the sector, especially the state, to reduce the level of risk in the sector, to allow the banks to do more, in my humble opinion, right? However, there is something called Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee Corporation, ECPCGC, that our bank and others are participating in, that provides a partial guarantee, I think up to $300,000 for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. And sometimes, the farmer is out in his field. Where does he get time to understand this thing and come to the bank to negotiate it and so on and so forth? So we'll try to do an outreach whereby we can assist people to understand the product and to help them apply so that they can invest more in the enterprise and so on. So it's not just for the people in the tech, industry, the programming and apps and that kind of stuff and so on, but for all small, medium, and micro enterprises, this is available to them, and that will help, with the sector. I have my own personal view in terms of what should happen to the nutmeg industry. I've spoken about it elsewhere.
You can comment on it, Richard. It's always a good thing.
Well, it's simple. My point is that the nutmeg lands that we have, the farmers are not around, either disengaged or deceased. The kids are out in New York, London, Toronto, maybe Australia, I don't know. The state could simply form a trust company and hold this land in trust for their estate. Value it, of course, cultivate it, whether they give it out to other interested farmers, but you had to put money to support it and so forth. And when it comes into fruition, if the kids and grandkids want it, again, you value it and pay the trust to get it back. So in other words, I'm saying that the state has to intervene. And I think in every country and society, I don't know at what juncture you are in your evolution, and you have to capture that. So the 50s and the 60s was one phase. What is facing us now post-Ivan? We can't just leave it, alone and forget the modernization of the GC and all that kind of stuff. That too has to take place, don't get me wrong, but unless you have the production levels back up to export, then we spin in top in mud. And you can get the kids, for example, times easy. You can go into the field and cultivate, whether Belvedere or wherever, and you could tag every plant. You have the modern apps and so on and so forth. So if I plant 500 nutmeg trees this planting season, they belong to me. I'm in Tamsizi. When I start to work, that database should show that my trees are in the fruition. I need to get a change. So in a way to incentivize the youths to take part in the sector. You use modern technology and you know you have an investment of 1,000, 2,000.
And right there, that is the kind of incentive for all the things we say about young people and agriculture and their disinterest and it not being sexy. We don't think of the solutions or the incentives that will get them excited.
Absolutely.
And that which you just mentioned is indeed a great one. And that's it. We can do so many things. We just have to put in the work.
Another way to put it, Brenda, is like the nutmeg industry needs an intervention of the same order of magnitude and style as the international airport. The international airport was the whole of Grenada, the whole diaspora decide that without this, the Grenada we are looking forward to is not an eyesore. And therefore, this is what we're going to do about it. The nutmeg industry should take a similar position. Without X number of millions into this thing and the nation coming behind it,
it's not going to work. I think it's an excellent point. But Richard, but I have this idea. This point has been in my head, and I'm not going to let this opportunity go. And it's not only happening in the pandemic; it was happening before that. We see a change in environment, a more projectized approach to activities. And in the past, where a young person living in school expected a job for his or her life, this isn't anymore. This is not happening. And so you see in this projectized environment, you see short-term contract. Professional persons, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, it depends. What is the bank's approach to this in terms of inability to be able to project a long-term, 20-year of employment? What is your approach on this? Because unions are talking about this is unacceptable. Their membership is having difficulties. Contract work. What's the bank approach to this? How is the bank approaching this issue?
We have gone beyond the fear and the scare. For lending people who are on contract, because we have now discovered that some people have been on 2-year contracts for 5 years, right? And therefore you have to take, and I'm not a risk taking, right? But truth be told, some of these people who are able to move from job to job on contracts and so on are doing better than those who are in permanent jobs, right? Meaning that they have security of tenure. You don't have security of tenure, so you perform well and you look for other mechanisms or other ways of making a livelihood. So you're not just on this one contract here, but you're doing other things as a small person, a small business person and so on to make ends meet or to develop your own finances and so forth. So yes, we have been lending to people on contract, whether it's in the state sector or in the private sector.
That's a good thing to hear.
That was going to be my next. You stole my next question, but I just like to further. I just want you to further expand on that, because it is, I mean, it's out there that because the environment is changing, and we have to admit that. And I'm sure within your own bank, there are people on contract. And there is this thing out there because we've known tenure and job security. Would you agree that job security is kind of becoming a thing of the past, or more challenging than the way we saw it, and that contract work is going to be more way of a more formalized way of employment? And with that sort of setting itself up as a global phenomenon, what should financial institutions do to respond to that?
Well, no, I mean, Brenda, the model has to change, you know. In the bank where I work, I've seen certain angles that we have taken on issues and so on, and I say this is not right. Right? So we cannot admit or agree that as financial institutions we always get it right, that we always are on top of the trends that are emerging. Sometimes we are late in responding, and I'm saying to you that the future is one that banks need to respond to. And that, I mean, there's something called the gig economy, for example. There are people who are doing very well, but they don't want no commitment, you know. So it's both ways. I'm talking about the individual worker, right? Yeah. And people laugh, it might be in a relationship, we good, but we ain't going in the church, right? So similarly with the worker now, right? I good, I ain't taking it at all. So I gig in here, doing here, you know, and that is coming on board. And how do you finance that person with that entrepreneurial spirit for what they are doing, and at the same time give them a loan for 20 years to build a house? And you have to be able to do that. And I'm saying to you that the future that we're looking at requires us as banks to respond to that. Yeah. I know some of us have responded, right? I think it's still early days, but we are facing the right direction and moving in the right direction.
And you mentioned house, because in our generation and those before us, to own a house, to own land, that was a big deal. We are finding that the younger generation, they're not interested in being tied on to a mortgage for 30 and 40 years. They want to travel the world. They want to work in Barbados. They want to work in Dubai. So all of these dynamics, we in a changing landscape, it would mean a lot of innovation and some sort of changing of the way banking operates.
Banking is global, you know. You can be in Dubai and you're paying your mortgage here. You don't have to walk in the bank and pay your mortgage. You know.
Sometimes I want to own a house there, not in Grenada.
Exactly. I think the key thing too is that your credit rating, your credit score, and who you are is known to the whole world. If people want to know it, they will know it. So it doesn't matter where you find yourself to do banking. You understand? But not that the man on Church Street knows you, right? Your data is there, so the man, any part of the world, knows that this is your credit score, this is your track record, and so on, and can lend you money. You see?
But in terms of even the mortgage, because I know the bank at the moment and traditionally has made a lot of their money from things like mortgages. And with that, if that is something that it's changing in terms of its operations, how does it impact banking on the one end and then the economy on the other? Because you're finding thousands of people who are just no longer interested in brick and mortar things.
Right. So you mean in terms of owning a home?
Yeah.
Well, you see, and there's a slight danger to that. What is happening, I believe, is that sociologically we have gotten to the point where people who have done relatively well have 1 and 2 kids. So they're sure that what mommy and daddy have is theirs. That's part of the problem. Whereas us had to work our butts off because mommy and daddy didn't have much. And it was not just one of us or 2 of us, but maybe 5 or 6 of us. So you had to look out, right? So I think we are there. Part of the society, not everybody. But the other danger we have is that if a generation of us do not want to own a piece of the rock, but then there are other people who are not born and bred here who do. Then we are approaching a generation maybe 50 years from now when what will we be doing? Living in apartments built on land owned by somebody else? That's not a good evolution.
True. Good point.
There has to be some balance.
There has to be some balance, you know. But very interesting point, you know.
I want to throw a question to you, Richard. I know as a compound question. I know we have high liquidity in the system, and that is a cost to the banks and financial institutions. And I marry that to some degree to Brenda's question about banks' income stream because of the spread in mortgage rates and the competition has become less and less and less. And as a result, we're seeing fees and fees and fees. Is there a time to reintroduce the conversation of the savings rate and let the market dictate that more than what it is now pegged by ECCB? And how does that conversation, if we're looking to bring it up, mesh with Dcash and digitization, and that right now it's relatively free? And how do the banks see themselves in that environment, and how they think with fees? Because I know there's a lot of quarrel about fees and customers, but the bank has to remain profitable and understand the cost of compliance and all of that and all of that. But how do we, in the new Dcash environment, I mean, I had Dcash on my phone already. How do we see that evolving with interest spread, savings rate, cost of money, and so on? I say it's a compound question.
No, it's a compound question, but let's start with the minimum savings rate and allowing the market to determine that rate. I would say to you, Chris, that two things. One, owning a piece of land and a house is the single largest investment many of us will ever make in our lifetime. So forget shares and this single largest investment. And therefore you have to borrow, right? Now, if you liberate the savings rate, chances are interest rate is going to come down. You can get a mortgage even cheaper. But at the same time, savings, money in the bank, for many people, is the single largest accumulation of an asset they'll have apart from the house and land. So, and they're looking now to live on that savings. So if the savings rate is lower than inflation, it means that when you're trying to accumulate so you could get something to augment your NIS over time, it is not going to be there as you would like. So my position is very simple. I'm in favor of liberalizing the savings rate when you put in place alternative investment products for people. I'm not saying safe, I'm saying alternative. Because no investment is safe. But things like mutual funds, money market, call it whatever you want, that space has to be developed. Because it's unfair for banks to pay people next to nothing for their savings and take it and let it out for mortgages and commercial enterprises and so on. It is not right. Philosophically, I don't think it's correct. So I am fully in favor of liberalizing the minimum savings rate when alternatives, and central bank has to do that. So they have not yet done much work there. They did the home mortgage bank. They have a product on the market now that is paying 3%. But it's early days. How many people know? How many people trust? How many people want to get engaged in that answer?
Well, is that in our DNA, Mr. Duncan? Because, I mean, culturally and traditionally, what we want to do is to see our bank account grow. When somebody talks to you about a mutual fund, you're like, what? You know, so culturally,
so the education has to take place.
And it's the same thing you mentioned earlier, like, you know, in our generation, our parents had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, and they had theirs, and they say, go and find your own. But now you have 1 or 2 children, and that generational wealth building, we are averse to that. But look how that is working in the societies of the world that are doing well.
Precisely.
So culturally, what are the shifts are we going to make to get there?
And that's where the central bank comes in. So the priority for the governor has been Dcash. Fine, Chris has it, I have it. I use it in, well, I'm not advertising in a certain place.
Hello.
No, you download, you load your wallet, right? But what I did, I sent $1 for a man to make sure you walk in. I ain't sending plenty.
I sent $20 for your wife.
He sent it for your wife. Then I tell the man, I say, boss, send back my $1 for me. So
he sends it back?
He sends it back. Right? I see a balance changing and things.
It's working.
So I'm saying, let us download, let us get involved, you know, and play around with this thing. So so Dcash is good in terms of the technology, but Chris, there are other products that I think the central bank has to help lead the charge or enable or facilitate to improve the financial space for people.
And how do you see the challenge? Traditional banks, and I know there's a big conversation we've had and continue to have, the credit union movement have grown substantially in the last few years. COVID environment hasn't stop the growth. There are billion-dollar industry right in Grenada here, and when you put them together. How do you see now that they're tripsing over into commercial? And it was primarily retail credit that credit unions will do. Now they're going into commercial. Do you see that as a challenge to the banks, one, from the perspective of compliance, interrogation, the type of lending that we do, not the type, the kind of the training that we need to get done at that level, especially on the commercial side, for banks, the underwriting. How do you see that? Do you think that there's a need for central bank to look at this closer?
Well, Chris, let me start out by saying that I'm a credit union member, right? I've served on the board of one. I've been part of the changeover from the old guard to the new guard in that same one. And I've helped to lead the charge in terms of its modernization. So one. Two, having joined the bank, I had to step back. And at the bank, I have helped with the further modernization with the international debit card and the ATM for the bank at this point. Because philosophically, I believe that the space, the financial, is our responsibility, indigenous, to improve it and so on and so forth. However, there is an intellectual honesty that we have to treat with. And that is to say, when you evolve and you mutate into something else than where you were originally, regulations have to keep up with it.
Right.
So, the credit unions have opened their bonds. So to be a member, you no longer have to be a civil servant.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a police or a teacher to be in duty. So what you have is credit unions competing among themselves, competing in the same space as the commercial banks. And by the way, Grenada Development Bank, I'm not too sure if it's a development bank anymore.
No.
Some of the things they're advertising. So we had to ask ourselves, what do we want in this financial space? And I'm saying that when we deny certain things, it comes back to hurt us. We deny that CLICO was taking deposits. They give it all kind of fancy name. And when the Bankers Association raised the issue, they say, oh, you guys paying 4 and 5%, CLICO paying 9%, what do you want people to do? Well, people did what they're supposed to have done, and we see the consequence of it.
Right.
We could go in the Cap Bank, for example, right? We say this is not right, let us fix this and so on. People drag their feet and so on. My point is, when you do these things, some people end up losing their freedom, some people end up losing their money, some people are losing their dignity and their pride.
Some people never recover.
Never recover. Yeah. My point is that given where we are in our financial evolution, if you are a deposit-taking institution from the general public, there's a particular legislative framework that has to come into play, and that's the central bank. The central bank has a term called systemically important credit union, which with all due respect to them is a euphemism for an unregulated bank, as far as I'm concerned. What is meant by systemically important? What is meant by that? Right? So then the credit unions would say, well, it's member helping member. But I'm saying no.
Gone beyond that.
How can a statutory body be a member of a credit union? You have deposits holding for them. You have deposits holding for private sector companies. It is not member helping. So my thing, let us be intellectually honest. We have grown, we have evolved, we have mutated, and let us treat with that.
Yeah.
And by the way, the financial space in the ECCU now is almost entirely in the hands of us as indigenous people. The Canadians are gone, by and large. We have it. What are we going to do with it? Be calling things by the wrong name, be ducking and hiding from the reality. Let us say it's ours. That's my point.
Do you think that the ECCB need to lead the charge on some of this before it gets out of control?
Well, absolutely. I mean, they do have a program. They have a 5-year plan for, and they announced it in the last Monetary Council. The approach that they intend to take to better regulate the financial space, you know. And I think that is quite welcomed and should be embraced by all, because again, I'm saying, the space is ours.
Yeah.
Let us make
Level
it strong,
playing
let us
field.
make it robust. Yeah. You know,
as we get ready to wrap, I can't let you leave without asking is one from a customer point of view. And you know, a lot of the e-banking activities go on. We now have the cash and all these things that people are like, what's that? I don't know how to use that. Even ATMs and all of that, there's still a level of trust, but the security for the customer of that question, you know, I just want you to expound on that a bit. And just before you leave as well, just give us some sort of indication, because I know you pay close attention as to where we're going, and having, you know, managing the issues on the front, just where you see the economy of Grenada at this time.
Well, okay, let's just start with the security. I mean, the banks, and our bank in particular, emphasize heavily the security of the systems that we have, and we encourage customers to play their part. So we give information, Facebook page, the website, and the ATMs and so on, to let people know how to protect their information. At the same time, every bank has a duty for their own survival. This is how you keep the front door locked and the vault locked. Your computer systems have to have a level of security and safety that people can trust and rely upon. And most banks, or all banks, and our bank in particular, have that in place. Now, there's also the question of insurance. How do you insure? Because yes, you could be the safest driver, the brakes on your car could be working well, tires, everything, but something can go wrong. So insurance is a very important part, and there are companies that provide insurance for your cyber assets, as it were, as well as provide support in the event that something goes wrong. So this is very important for all banks, and we are right there with that. In terms of the economy, obviously, there is a slow, gradual recovery that is taking place. I see it, you know, in the banking sector, and I think that some of the sectors, I think Chris has mentioned in construction and his, you know, related enterprise, you know, you see it happening there. What will happen eventually, and how soon it will happen, is highly contingent, in my view, on the level of vaccination. I've heard Honorable Prime Minister declare that the vaccine is not mandatory, right? And you cannot tell people to get vaccine. I'm also saying that you cannot tell people how to protect their private property and enterprise from the risk of disruption, the risk of loss of business, and the risk of potential closure. You can't tell people to do that.
Correct.
As I was telling one guy this morning, you know, we walk in, you know, we take a early morning walk, I say, well, you know, if I have a restaurant, I can't tell you to bathe to come to work. I can't, but you can't come to my work smelling a perspiration and so on. I can't tell you to cut, I can't tell you to cut your fingernails, but you can't come in my restaurant with your nail here, you leave the garden, you can. So I'm saying that we all have rights.
Yes.
And responsibilities.
And responsibilities. And the first right or obligation that a private enterprise has is to protect its safety and well-being.
Absolutely. Against all risks.
Yeah. So that's my position.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that if we get a debate right, you know, it will help us with the speed of recovery, because I could see us going through a, you know, okey-jokey thing where we open up and boy, a couple cases arise, and then you don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want that. That's my view. But I think fiscally the government is doing a good job. I have a different view from a lot of people on the 4%. But
you want to share it?
What's your view?
It's still topical.
What's your view?
Still topical?
Yeah, what's your
view?
It
is. I mean, if it's still topical, it is the topic.
I didn't realize that. At all.
Stop being so coy.
No. I'm saying, right? Really, actually, it's not 4%, right? Because taxes coming out. So government right away getting back piece of that, either 10% or 15 or 28, whatever. So it's not really 4. Yeah. Secondly, that money will go straight into the economy, right? And it will help with the very thing that we're trying to achieve.
You see it as a stimulus?
Right? Exactly, it will help, right? And then not only that, if you can't pay 4 now, pay 2. You see what I'm saying? So you ease the tension, as it were, and then you pay 2 later on. Okay. Because we don't need the rancor.
Yeah.
It does not do good for any of us.
And that should be the mediated way going forward.
Yeah.
So there's compromise in the
absolutely.
whole.
I want to ask you about
That's a very interesting
Yeah.
point. Seeing it as a stimulus because it's going right back in. But the government said they don't have it. Where do they find it? Where do you recommend they find it? The back pocket, the side pocket, or the pocket inside the pants?
You see, but I've not looked at the ramification because again too, and is that a point that the government has made its own fiscal strategy that when the economy is down, you do what you call deficit financing to stimulate. So you can't be in a down situation, you just stimulate the economy, and at the same time you want to do what? Generate surpluses? No. Now is the time to run a deficit. Right? To give the economy the boost. Now, sometimes the timing of that deficit is important, don't get me wrong, because depending on the depth of the hole, right, so you have to give the hole a chance to fill up. And when then you come in, so that's what I'm saying. Timing. 2% now could help to boost things along.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so very much. We're running into 9 o'clock. I see some of us have to get to
the work.
Yes, please, some of us do.
So it was anything before you leave us?
No. It's always a pleasure to be here to chat, to debate, to throw the issues out. I mean, I've gone beyond my initial remit as being, I did preface some of the remarks by saying it is my personal opinion, so please don't attach those to the bank, social media people, to the bank and so on. But I think, as Grenadians, we have to continue to debate, look at the different angles and so on, and find a medium whereby we can go forward.
And it's a time where we need the best of us to steer us.
Sure.
And from whatever capacity we come from, it's important. Because leadership is not just leadership is not just politicians. We seem to just think that leadership means politics. It's people like you and other people who contribute so much to our development. So thanks again.
Not a problem. My pleasure.
Again, congratulations on Pump It Up and
thank you very much.
The initiative of reestablishing the
just want to say, Brenda, that I really love this idea, Richard. If nothing else out of this morning, is that trust idea for the Nutmeg Estates. I think we have to take that and develop that.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have serious issues with age and demographics in
absolutely.
And scientific approach, and I really like that idea. I think it's
so let's just not talk it, let's
my
action
director here
it.
is going to
Let's action it.
take on board, but I mean,
I never thought of the 4% as a stimulus. I think I like that as well, and I think that's something worth sorting out as we try to get to a solution.
No problem.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, my
Thanks
pleasure.
everyone. Thank you so much for our extended program. Carla Wilson, who was here earlier from the Grenada Co-Operative Bank Limited, telling us no, you have to pump it up. The 2021 edition. Go to the Core Bank Pump It Up Facebook page now and get involved. Families, workplaces, church groups, just have fun. Great prizes to be won. And of course, your $15 is going towards the re-establishment of the Carlton Home facility, much needed. I'd like to say thank you to the team for the extended broadcast this morning. Kirk Oliver, Blondell George, Nazim Benjamin, and our executive producer, Richie Oliver. Thank you so much. Senator Christopher Allie and Mr. Byron Campbell, thank you. And our special guest, Mr. Richard W. Duncan, the Managing Director of the Grenada Co-Operative Bank and the President of the Grenada Bankers Association. I'm Brenda Baptiste. Have a good Monday, everyone. Stay safe. Until next Monday, we have another Perspectives. Bye-bye.